My friend spotted this fat eating a chicken nugget. This was one of the most popular posts on the r/FatSquirrelHate subreddit, a community on Reddit created in May 2015 that is home to 145,000 members who, as you might guess, solely post about the fat squirrels that they encounter. With a description like publicly shaming greedy and obese squirrels, groundhogs, and other marmots, you might assume that this sub is probably a joke. However, there is a kernel of truth in many of these posts. Under a recently pinned post by one of the moderators telling people to watch their language because of Reddit bots, one of the mods stated, "I'm very mad at the squirrels in my backyard. The damn things eat all of the birdseed and whatever I put out for other species. The greedy lardasses assume this cylinder with a small hole full of birdseed is for them, so they proceed to destroy it, stuff their faces, then prance all over my yard while digging holes. Like, go away. Nobody wants you here. You contribute nothing to society. They just freeload and then bang on the windows when I don't give in and replenish the feeders." This mod story reminds me a lot of Mark Rober, who made his squirrel obstacle course a few years ago for this exact reason, though it has to be said that he had a much more friendly rivalry with the squirrels in his garden. But many in this community, however, seem to take things a lot more seriously. All you need to do is look at some of the comments, and underneath pictures of fat squirrels will be insults and roasts, no holds barred. Disgusting fat sack of lard. It's like someone took a particularly smug and annoying rat and shoved a basketball up its ass. I feel violated that this even exists. Fat ass sack of shit. Wipe that smile off your face. This ain't funny. These are all comments on the same photo of a fat squirrel from a TikTok screenshot, let alone the rest of these posts. The subreddit averages about 1 post per hour, so there's plenty of fat squirrel hate to go around. Keep in mind too that this hate is purely centered around obese squirrels and nothing else. From a Brit's perspective, I know that grey squirrels, who most of these posts seem to be targeted at, are actually an invasive species on our shores. For the past 150 years, they've been outcompeting our local red squirrel for food and habitat, as well as carrying disease. As a result, the red squirrel of the UK has been in a sharp decline of population from 3.5 million at its peak to now not even 10% of that. To hate grey squirrels because of that may be understandable. To hate them because they look like they've had a basketball shoved up their ass though, to me, is a bit strange. But that's just one of the many hate subreddits that we'll be discussing today as we dive deep into the platform's most vindictive and weird hate communities. It's the time of year that everyone wants to feel warm and fuzzy and happy. Not me though. I have only rage and hostility in my veins. So we'll go through each of these subreddits. I think there's about 15 in total, and we'll hear them out on what they hate. At the end of it, we'll give them a rating out of 5 based on the valid or nah scale. So 1 is completely invalid, you need to be locked up, get away from society, and 5 is absolutely valid, you have absolutely a reason to hate this thing. So the squirrels, for instance, I'm giving that a 3 out of 5. I think that obese squirrels and fat squirrels, there is a reason I could see why someone might hate them, but some people might take it a bit too far, so 3 out of 5 for those squirrels. You guys can keep score yourself, and then at the end of the video, just let me know down in the comments what your scores are. So with that said, I think it makes sense to start off a little bit lighter, and as we go through the video, things will get a little bit more controversial. So without further ado, up next we have r/Beanshate. A total of 601 people have decided to spend their limited time on this earth in pursuit of spreading the word of how much they despise beans. You might be asking yourself, is this hate community legitimate or just memeing? And once again, it's hard to tell. Under one post seemingly in support of beans, one user wrote, "You like beans so much, bitch? How about I replace all of your organs with them, bitch?" Which seems maybe legitimate. Of course, over text, it's really hard to tell, but it wouldn't exactly surprise me if baked beans did have a big hate community. On another post asking about the community's hatred of beans, there was some seemingly normal answers, people saying that they suck, that they're gross, and then there was some guy who seems to think that beans are a government conspiracy and that most people are spellbound and stupid about it, so maybe a bit of both. In the past, the community has posted about anti-bean vaccines, they posted about their disdain for Gary Watkinson, a Brit who, according to the Metro, eats baked beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they've also created videos gripping beans. Definitely a fetish. In fairness, the community does have some fair points. Beans and egg pie? Like, what even is that? Worse yet is a bean-filled bauble being sold. I say this with the utmost sincerity, that should be illegal. Beans put where they shouldn't should be a crime. Though as a Brit, bean slander gets too much hate. Beans on toast can slap, 3 out of 5. I guess it makes sense to wrap up food-based hate subreddits before we move on to the more controversial issues. Perhaps this one will be a little bit more dividing. r/Tomatohate. Described as hatred of the fruit of the devil, Tomatohate, or Tomatohate if you're nasty, was made in 2017 and has a total of 2,300 members. Compared to the previous subreddits, I'm more inclined to believe that the people within this community do genuinely hate tomatoes, especially with posts such as this, which claim that the original poster loves ketchup but hates tomatoes. These are the sorts of people who would go to the extra effort of taking tomatoes off their pizzas. These are the sorts of people who would call the emergency services after getting a tomato in their sandwiches. These are the sorts of people who would call for the genocide of this healthy treat. I actually have 2 separate friends who are self-proclaimed tomato haters, so I have a bit of know-how in what these guys don't like about tomatoes, and they both tell me it's the texture. Particularly, the interior of the tomato is what most people seem to have problems with, as it's very gooey and quite viscous. I also think that scene from Lord of the Rings where the old guy eats a tomato that just explodes on his lips probably didn't help things. For the most part though, there isn't too much distinct about this subreddit, so we'll move on quickly. Personally, I absolutely love tomatoes, so for me, I'm sorry to say, tomato haters, it's a 1 out of 5 on the valid or nah scale. I don't get this one at all, but remember to keep your own scores down below. And speaking of keeping scores, let's talk about the hatred of sports with r/IHateSportsBall. Founded in 2015 and home to 26,000 members, this is a hate subreddit about hate itself. At first, you might think that it's about people that don't like sports, but actually it's about people who don't like people who don't like sports. Have you ever met someone who complains about everyone at the bar watching the big game? Maybe they're upset at the World Cup or the Super Bowl, perhaps they even take it a step further and think that they're special or enlightened or above the troglodytic barbarism of live sports and make it their personality. r/IHateSportsBall takes aim at them and reminds them that they're just angry for no reason. Members often take screenshots of other people's Reddit posts or tweets, attacking people for their misunderstandings or oversimplifications of sports. The haters of sports often don't like the tribalism and rambunctiousness that sports brings. They think that people describing their team as "we" are stupid, and they often take offense that sports fans talk down on gamers for watching other people play video games, making the claim that sports and video games are kind of the same. I think everyone knows at least 1 or 2 people that this sub would rip into, and for me, sports haters' hate is very often unfounded and ill-informed. One of the easiest 5 out of 5s I'll give in this video, this subreddit is valid AF. Football literally brought war to a standstill in World War I, it doesn't get any more iconic than that. And roasting whiners makes it a 5 out of 5 for sure. But from one form of entertainment to another, from sports to music, let's discuss r/WeHateKpop. Realistically, I'm quite surprised that this community doesn't have more members. At 4.3 thousand, I thought that K-pop would get a lot more hate, but apparently not. That said, it's a very active community with new posts most days. It's important to clarify that this subreddit is purely against K-pop and its fans. It's clear in the rules that hate against Koreans or any form of racism, sexism, or homophobia is not allowed. That said, My word, are K-pop fans another bunch altogether. A lot of their tweets I cannot even show here, probably legally. The members of this subreddit seem to genuinely despise the level of toxicity in K-pop fandoms. They find the fans to be obsessive, sometimes even delusional or dangerous, and in their minds, they are worthy of being clowned on. This guy here has written a nice old laundry list of his K-pop icks, and this person takes more offense in the music being created than the fans, saying that he doesn't even consider the genre to be classified as music. Is all of this hate for the music itself, or is it being spurred on by the actions of these obsessive fans? It's tough to say, but one thing's for sure, the fans definitely do not help. There's a top 10 list about stalking incidents in the K-pop community, for crying out loud. Apparently someone got a blood letter. Like, what? Another artist was poisoned. What is even going on? I can't defend everything that this subreddit says or stands for. Like, I don't really care for K-pop music, but it is music. That said, hating on obsessive K-pop fans is much more understandable. This will definitely catch me some heat, and I apologize to any K-pop fans watching in advance, but this one for me, 4 out of 5. After those last two, I definitely think we need to tone it down just a little bit and go for something a little bit less controversial. So with that said, let's hate on one of the USA's most despised characters, the Minions. Debuting in Illumination's 2010 movie Despicable Me, many people think that Minions are a marketing ploy. They are now the Facebook mascots of 7th graders, way too random girls, grandmothers, Donald Trump, and obnoxious people. That is the actual description of this Reddit community, home to almost 50,000 users. For 8 long years, this subreddit has been targeting its anger towards these yellow characters from the Despicable Me franchise. There are a multitude of reasons why, although I'm sure that a lot of people post here in jest. That said, this hate for many members, I'm quite certain, is legitimate. Firstly, Minions have been commercialized to hell. Many members suspect that they were solely created to sell toys and merchandise, as the description of this subreddit insinuates. Minion merch sales are comparable with that of the Batman franchise, and both Minion movies grossed a combined $2 billion at the box office from ticket sales alone. These guys are without a doubt one of the biggest cash cows of our lifetime. Then of course you have the second, but perhaps even bigger reason that a lot of people hate them, which is that a lot of people on Facebook love to share these guys within pictures and memes that have absolutely nothing to do with the Minions. If you can remember back to mid-2010s Facebook, these guys would be everywhere, even if the post had nothing to do with Minions. Especially then, in fact. They never had anything to do with the message, they'd just be there. Like, they serve no purpose. This use of them in horrible puns and forced relatable humour angered a lot of people. And a third reason was that you had them used in some weird propaganda. Like, apparently someone shared this meme of the Minions don't get vaccinated. I think that any property that is consistently forced down your throat even when you don't want it to be is going to anger a lot of people, and Minion Mania was everywhere, so I think this one is pretty valid. 5 out of 5. And speaking of things shoved down your throat, r/IHate commercials. In 2019, Spotify annoyed me into getting their premium service. In 2021, Google annoyed me into refusing to buy any of their stupid Pixel phones after I got Google Pixel ads on every single YouTube video I clicked on. A bad ad will do that. Based on the fact that the name of this community is r/CommercialsIHate, I have to assume that most people that use it are from North America, and after my time in California, I can understand why Americans especially are tired of ads. You guys get way more than we get in the UK, and I thought we got a lot. With 67,000 members, the hatred of annoying ads seemed to be very popular on Reddit. People seem to have especially taken offense with the infamous Grubhub advert.
Grubhub perks give you deals on the food you love. The kind of deals that make your boogie.
This is an ad that I've never seen because Grubhub isn't over in the UK, but it is obnoxious as and after seeing it once, I never want to see it again. This ad takes up a number of the most upvoted posts on this subreddit. It's pretty amazing how hated it is, and it seems as though other companies took inspiration for their own ads, which have also in turn been panned by this community. It's an insanely active subreddit with dozens upon dozens of posts every day, and it's hard to say that this isn't perhaps the most valid subreddit in the entire video for me. I make my living off advertisements, don't get me wrong, but some of them are so annoying. And the worst part is, I don't think that advertising companies actually care. Annoying adverts that you can remember are way more valuable to them than just kind of bland, mediocre, middle of the road adverts that you forget. So we're just stuck in this never-ending loop. That said, if you see an annoying ad on this video, don't forget to document it in the group. Down in the depths here, let's get into some more controversial ones, kicking things off with r/SmokerHate. Undeniably, there'll be a portion of the people watching this video that smoke. If that person is you, it might be disheartening to hear that 1.4 thousand people despise your habit enough to create a community about how they hate it. Many people in this community discuss their experiences growing up with smoking relatives, many of them complain about their partners or friends smoking, and perhaps surprisingly, some people within this community are former smokers or smokers trying to quit. Created back in 2014, this is one of the oldest hate communities that we've discussed today, and within its 9-year lifespan, there have been many different people in this community who've shared their controversial opinions on the habit. Some people think that you should be able to assault people if they're smoking in public because it's unconsensual to bystanders. Some people share anti-smoking memes, some people share pictures of how smokers have used the world as their ashtray, there have been people who have shared how they want to move because of smokers, and believe it or not, there have been people who have called for the execution of smokers, believing that if they were gone, it would make the world a better place. Are these people valid for hating smokers? Obviously that is a matter of opinion. It goes without saying that smoking is one of the least healthy things that you can put your body through. And not only that, but it does affect others around you, whether it be secondhand smoke or making your house or car smell like it. Personally, I have a very intimate relationship with smoking, which makes me absolutely despise it. That said, a lot of these guys take it way too far, so for me, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I can't go the entire way because some of these guys are bonkers. But what do you think? Carry on writing your comments as we move on to r/IHateChristmas. That's right. Despite it just having gone the most wonderful time of the year, many people weren't feeling quite as merry for the Yuletide. These are the sorts of people who might legitimately say bah humbug without it being a quote or ironic. They clearly haven't been visited by 3 ghosts. In all seriousness though, I should probably tone it down, because whilst upon first reaction you might question who could ever hate Christmas, some people on this subreddit do have a legitimate reason to hate the holidays. Many of them share very personal stories about the root of their disdain. Whether it be because they feel as though they've been forced into liking it via media propaganda, whether it be because they call it out for losing its soul and becoming the most capitalist and commercialized holiday of them all, whether it be because they have some sort of childhood trauma that stuck with them for all their life, that they have family issues, that people start celebrating it in November, making it a multi-month holiday, the people within this community have a few various reasons as to why they hate Christmas. I've always loved Christmas, ever since I was a kid. Going down on Christmas morning, it's unmatched. But as I get older, I think I understand the true meaning of Christmas a little bit more and a little bit more every year. Many people though don't have family to celebrate with. Many people are lonely or feel down around the holidays for various reasons, and they don't like that the rest of the world refuses to feel sad around that time. I think that to many of them, this is very valid, but a few of them sound like they just hate it for the sake of it. Some people in there are complaining at Christmas song lyrics, others describe the holiday as some sort of a cult, and one person in there said that they got offended when people said Merry Christmas to them, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. So whilst I can give the pass to some, others do seem just a little bit whingy and it sounds like they just don't like it for the sake of don't liking it. I'm gonna give this subreddit a 3 out of 5. And to anyone upset with that, might I suggest to you r/JustUnsubbed. Founded in 2014, this subreddit is home to 230,000 users, making it one of the largest ones in this video. The purpose of this subreddit is to share things that people hate about various YouTube channels or subreddits that have made them unsubscribe or unfollow. So for example, this guy unfollowed r/poor because he got rich. This guy unfollowed r/neverbrokeabone because he broke his leg, it seems. And then this guy unfollowed r/foodporn because he got too hungry all the time. However, despite there being a lot of jokey, tongue-in-cheek posts within this subreddit, there have been a lot of people who have shared important information. This person shared that they unfollowed r/illegally small cats because they realised that within the facade of cute kittens, many of the breeding practices that these cats are going through are despicable. This person unfollowed r/TheDonald because they wanted to understand Trump's fanbase more, but comparing Greta Thunberg to a Lord of the Rings orc was apparently too much, and they thought that this was bullying. This person left r/antinatalism because the members were clowning on a guy who found purpose in his life after having a child. The Reddit community says that occasionally they share reasons as to why they unsubscribe to a YouTube channel, but these sorts of posts do seem rare. I doubt I'm there yet, but this video isn't over quite yet, so you never know. That said, if you are enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe, I would truly appreciate it. Nonetheless, everyone here seems to have their reasons as to why they unsubbed to these Reddit communities, so at least from what I've seen, it doesn't seem to be too hateful, just people saying why a community they once enjoyed has since become corrupted. This is a 5 out of 5 for me, very valid. And of course, this video wouldn't be complete without this next community. Perhaps the most despised person we've spoken about today. Within this community, the hate is visceral, it's internal, it's never ending. Of course, I'm talking about r/GrandpaJoeHate. Many people might not know this, but the very first video on this channel was called In Defense of Grandpa Joe, in which I talk about this community and my opinion on Grandpa Joe, famous from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. With the new Willy Wonka movie having just come out, and with this being the last video on the channel this year, I think it would be nice to go round full circle and talk about him again. If you haven't seen the original Gene Wilder Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the reviled Grandpa Joe is bedridden until he finds out that Charlie has won a golden ticket to go to Willy Wonka's factory, and then he gets up and does a jig, busting the lie that he was disabled. This man sat on his fat ass for 20 long years, all the while Charlie's mother made laundry soup, as John Mulaney would say, his family was in poverty, and he was much too lazy to do anything about it. Some people also theorise that he snuck out of the house late at night to do some blow on account of his coke nails. If you thought that people hated other communities, r/GrandpaJoeHate is another level of loathing. Many people often compare him to Adolf Hitler, and others argue that it's a fair comparison. Others just like to see him get roasted by Willy Wonka, sharing memes about him, and one person, I shit you not, even got a tattoo about GrandpaJoeHate. It seems to be on their arm too, it's pretty damn prominent, and of course people heralded the tattoo, saying that it was the most important inking of the century. 152,000 people are a member of this community, and despite Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory coming out 51 years ago, it's clearly transcended time because there are multiple posts each and every day. This is a hate community that shows no sign of slowing down. But, as I said in the original video in defense of Grandpa Joe, me and him, we're tight. I just can't go against him. I'll be the devil's advocate if you want, because me and Grandpa Joe, sometimes, I join him whilst he does coke with the Candyman. That's just how it is. Me and Joe, we go way back. 1 out of 5 on the valid or nah scale. And if you have a problem with it, let me know down in the comments, because that's all we have time for today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I would truly appreciate it. If you want to watch more of my content, I'll direct you to my previous video on Reddit, that being about banned subreddits. It's a great video in my opinion. Definitely, if you enjoyed this, I'm sure you'll love that one too. Aside from that, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.